If you're someone watching the show right now and you're outside of the US looking for a better brokerage, listen up. I wanted to take a moment to mention today's live stream supporter, Vantage. Vantage allows traders outside of the United States to trade CFDs. You can trade everything from commodities like gold, you can trade US indices or global indices, and you can even trade FX all under one brokerage, and you can connect to MetaTrader 4 and trade directly on tradingview.com. Not to mention, they also have a really good sign-up bonus going on right now. So we'll drop the link to that down below in the chat as well as in the description of this live stream. Check out Vantage. Now back to the show. All right, everybody. Good morning. Hope everyone is doing well. Apologies for the 5 or so minute start delay. I was actually filming a video for the new YouTube channel. If you're a stock market person, search up Trader Nick Stocks on YouTube. I'm doing a video today on NVIDIA stock, which is one of my favorite stocks. It is also a crowd favorite stock. But I bought some shares in the April sell-off. I bought a lot of stuff in April. And I'm excited about the new channel. I'm having a lot of fun doing that. It is very nostalgic for me. 8 years ago, I would, whenever I start, well, when did I start my YouTube channel? Not 8 years ago. 6 or 7 years ago. I started my YouTube channel, started talking about markets, talking about Forex, talking about gold, indices. And, the whole time I was interested in stocks too, but my audience just always resonated on this channel much more with the Forex and, indices and commodities, like kind of the big picture stuff. And, I've always been a stock trader and investor. I've done it for many years. Is longer actually than Forex and gold and all that. And so I have a second channel that I'm working on. I'm really, really excited about. Okay, so today we have unemployment claims. I'm personally very, very interested to see what happens with these, because if we take a look really quick, the labor statistics, I already know what my video topic today is going to be. If you guys want a little preview of what the topic of the videos today going to be is basically we're going to do a deep dive on who is right and who is wrong between Trump and Powell. And it's going to be a showdown because you know what? Both of them have a point. And I want to talk about it because should the Fed be cutting interest rates right now? In some ways, I think yes. In some ways, I see where the Fed's coming from. It's tricky. What do you guys think? Can I just ask the audience really quick? Give me your thoughts. Do you think, yes or no, just type a yes or a no to this question. Do you think that the Fed should be cutting interest rates soon? Or should they, or you think, no, they should wait? Yes, they should cut interest rates soon, or no, they should wait to cut interest rates until the tariff stuff passes us. What do you guys think? I mean, it's a challenging dynamic. And you know why it's especially difficult is because we don't know the NFP number. And so I'll tell you what, in 24 hours from now, there will be a pretty clear indicator, most likely, in terms of who is correct about that. Now, obviously, Trump is not the central bank chairman. And so you can't completely discredit his take either, though. So he is involved in the negotiations more so than Powell is, obviously, when it comes to tariffs. So he knows something there, but Powell knows the economy very well and also knows the damage that can be done if you cut interest rates too soon. It's really challenging. Look, people are, well, specifically Trump is calling Powell, quote unquote, too late. And is he too late? It's very difficult to say. Of course, I think it's a little bit disrespectful to speak about another elected or chosen official. He was put in by Trump, actually. I think it's a little bit disrespectful to speak to him like that. But who cares about that? Let's talk about actually what is there factual right or wrong in this. And of course, the difficult thing, the right or wrong concept is so difficult because nobody knows for sure if he's right or wrong, right? Because is it too late to cut interest rates right now? Well, what if tariffs worsen significantly and we get a big boost in inflation? That's what the Fed's point of view is. But you know what the Trump administration's point of view is? The Trump administration's point of view is inflation's gone. Inflation has come down substantially in the last multiple years. We've made significant progress on inflation. And now this week, we've seen some unemployment data or some employment data that's a little bit uncertain. So are we going to risk the labor market breaking first? That's where the too late, insult comes from. So you're telling me we're at 2.3% CPI. We are close to a normal inflation level, but the jobs market is showing some deterioration. Now, is it a horrible jobs market? No. So that's where the Fed kind of comes back in. It's like, well, hey, the labor market's not in a dire strait. It's not a horrible situation. It's holding up okay. But then you get into the concept of, is the Fed restrictive right now? And I would say yes. The Fed has interest rates at 4.5%. The CPI is at 2.3%. This number, right, rates are much higher than inflation. That's very restrictive. So that kind of brings me just slightly leaning towards, you know what? Maybe the Trump administration's kind of right about that. Maybe we need to be cutting rates a little bit more sooner. Now, I'm not going to stand here and say, pound my fist and say Powell's an idiot and it's too late and act that way about it. But there's a point there. Inflation's cooled off quite a bit. You have the labor market starting to show some weakening signs. Why risk it? Especially when we are very high in terms of a restrictive interest rate right now. But there's a little bit of this, I think. Yeah, Powell doesn't want to be told what to do by Trump. There's some level, on a human level, right? If somebody is breathing down your neck and telling you to do something, you have this like inherent desire to not want to do that, right? We got news, guys. Let me check out the unemployment claims here today. Again, this is another component to what we're talking about. So let's see what unemployment claims bring for us today. Forecast of 236,000. We want to see that number or lower. 240,000 was the previous number. That was higher than expected. Still says pending. Does anybody have the number? I'll just refresh the page just to see. There it is. Ooh, okay, guys. Take a look at this. Unemployment claims spiking up to 247,000. That's going to cause a little bit of uncertainty for the US dollar, I would imagine. Yep, a little bit of push lower on the dollar index here in response to this. Gold was already moving higher. I imagine this is another bullish catalyst for gold today. Stock indices, here's the S&P 500 shooting lower here. Not a huge move, but a move nonetheless. And so, okay, so we have 247,000 unemployment claims, which brings us to 2/3, 2 out of the 4, but 2 out of the 3 reported key economic data points this week have been a little bit concerning. So let me show you. So we had JOLTS, job openings. We had ADP, and we had unemployment claims. Now, we have not yet seen the NFP and unemployment rate percentage, but we've been tracking this week because this week is a big labor data week. Let's talk about where we're at. JOLTS job openings were solid to start out the week. ADP, big miss. Unemployment claims, miss. NFP, we don't know. Unemployment rate percentage, we don't know yet. So here's the challenge now. Okay, what happens if, and again, this is hindsight speaking, but if this number's bad and this number's bad, then too late, right? That insult, which I think even if you feel that way, I think is not cool to, throw insults. Despite that, could the Fed be too late? Possibly. We don't know NFP yet, though. So if you get, let's say, for example, that you get actually an impressive NFP number and an unemployment rate percentage that's actually okay, then you have a mixed week. So you're saying upcoming NFP is bad for US dollar? No, we don't know NFP yet. We can't determine if NFP is going to be strong or weak for the dollar until NFP number comes out. So we don't know what the NFP number is yet to add into this mix. But so far, we are now tilting 2 out of our 5 data points are negative, and 2 out of our 3 reported ones, right? We still have 2 left this week. 2/3 not looking so hot. So here's the thing, right? Where does that leave us? Well, if you get the rest of the data points, and this is obviously hindsight speaking here, but if you get the rest of those data points to suggest weakness for the US jobs market, then yes, there's a good chance that I think the Fed is behind the curve and needs to cut interest rates soon. But we don't know the NFP report just yet. But this unemployment claims is not great. Having a 242 back-to-back higher than expected unemployment claims numbers. This is a weekly number that comes out. We were expecting, let me pull this up. So we don't have the data point just in yet, but we will have it soon within the Edge Finder. It will update in here. But guys, what this is going to look like today is this is going to go up to here. That's how that's going to look once it populates. But what you can see here is that is 2 back-to-back weeks where unemployment claims are rising more than people expected. Some contraction in the labor market seems to be happening. And that's also following yesterday's very poor ADP numbers. So here's the thing. What people will constructively do is say, this is Powell's fault if you're heavily right-leaning. And then people say, this is Trump's fault if you're heavily left-leaning. Whose fault is it? Who cares? We're traders. We don't care about that, right? Don't sit there and dwell on politics all day long. If you're actually trading the market, let's just trade what's in front of us, right? Sure, you can throw blame. You can stare at, media all day long about who did what and whose fault it is. But as a trader, that doesn't really do anything for you. And biasing your trading heavily is a really dangerous path to go down. So let's just look at the stats. Okay. So this week, unemployment data, this is all very bearish in my view for the dollar index. To me, this suggests rate cuts are coming. This suggests that the probabilities that we're going to get rate cuts increase. Now, for the stock market, it's not a super positive indicator because we might be getting rate cuts because the economy is contracting, right? But take a look at the response to this in the metals market. The gold and silver. I mean, did you guys see silver? Silver. Who said that? Somebody just said that in the chat. Have you seen a silver, Nick? Yeah, look at silver. Look at this breakout. Huge breakout, right? Really impressive move higher. 34.7 was the previous high. And this is, by the way, this is a multi-year high right here for silver. It's not the all-time high. All-time high here, I believe, is actually, it's back in 2008, 2010, 2011. So we had a really big move higher here today. That's a beautiful, beautiful candle in terms of a weekly chart view for silver. Really strong breakout. You can see the last couple of days, wicked higher, and then off to the races today. This is a really bullish thing for metals because not only do you have silver moving higher, you have gold moving higher. And what I like to see in terms of like a confirmation is when silver is leading gold. To me, that's a really good indicator of metal strength. And so I'll tell you what, guys, this is making me a little bit more interested in watching metals. Just slightly more leaning into, okay, so Gold and silver. I believe silver has a neutral reading, but what does gold have? Where's gold at? Ooh, gold has a bullish reading. Interesting. Okay, so gold has a bullish reading. Some of the this week has not been this week has not been good for economic data. In fact, this week I've gradually shifted. I mean, you know what? Let's just pull it up. We've got the data. Why not use it? The economic heat map. See all the yellow text, guys? So if you're an Edgefinder user, if you see the yellow text, what the yellow text tells you is that in the last 7 days, this number was reported. So you can see this week has been heavy on the economic data side. Quiet Minute says gold is very bullish in the Edgefinder. Yeah, I see why. I see why, guys. Gold's starting to look good again. Because again, this is why I say stay systematic. If you were watching the show in recent times, right, you may have heard me say I'm kind of neutral on gold, neutral on the dollar. When I say I like to be systematic, this is why. The data this week requires me, based on my trading system, to acknowledge the data. It doesn't matter if I think, I want something to be bullish or I want something to be bearish or I want to be neutral on something. The data tells me when it's time to be bullish or bearish something. And you know what this is telling me? GDP growth. This was good. So that's strong for the dollar. But the rest of this is not good for the dollar. Manufacturing PMIs missed, negative for the dollar. Services PMIs missed, negative for the dollar. Wage growth, PCE, May 30th. That one came in line with expectations. So we'll just say neutral for that one. But then let's keep going. These I'm looking at specifically. We got last week and this week jobless claims or unemployment claims missed expectations. That's negative for the dollar. ADP, huge miss, negative for the dollar. Mortgage applications down, negative for the dollar. I have to be bearish the dollar. So when I'm more decisive in terms of bearish on the dollar, bullish on gold, what I do with that? Well, I start looking for trades. So yeah, Nick's about to take a trade on gold. I'll look for it. If I take a trade, I'll share it in the Discord, in the VIP section. I'm going to start watching gold and silver because that's a crazy chart on silver. Blunt says, Chris is waiting for level 46 for silver. Also, I bought it from the place where I said I would enter, tested 34.50 and came out. One who caught it. Nice. Let me see what silver looks like again really quick. Silver's up 4.3%. Holy goodness. That is impressive. Look at that move. That's like a 4-day rally of like 9% on the price of silver. Yeah, so I mean, if you get pullbacks on these things, I'm interested. 34.50 looks really interesting on silver. If I'm looking at gold, I can't justify chasing this thing. I would like to see it pull back. But you very well may get, depending on what happens with NFP, NFP could cause a pullback, in which case I'd be a buyer, likely, or a breakout and then pullbacks would also look good. So I'm watching gold. If I take a trade on gold sooner than that, I'll share it inside of our VIP group. If you're not in the VIP group, every trade that I share gets notified to members. Let me show you what that looks like. So if I'm trading Forex or if I'm trading gold, every trade that I share gets full explanations, full breakdowns, full analysis, entries, exits, stop losses, whatever I'm doing with my trades, I share in the form of alerts for members. As a gold member also, you get access to this cool tool right here, the trade tracker. So you can actually pull up and track the trades that I'm in if you're a member of our group. So if you're not already in there and you would like to be, you get access to everything I just showed you. You get access to the trade tracker. You get access to my notifications when I share them inside of the group. So for example, I have a Russell trade on right now. Let me see if I can pull that up. So every trade, you can see I'm sharing breakdowns, why I'm taking the trade, what I'm looking at. If this would be beneficial to you to essentially look over the shoulder of what I'm doing, and more importantly, why I'm doing that, check this out. Currently, for a limited time this month, we kicked off a sale for the VIP memberships to encourage new users to come join us and be a part of a serious trading community. If you've never been a part of a serious one, I'm not talking about, a sketchy, scammy Telegram channel. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a group where we do coaching calls. We have interactive chat rooms where people are discussing things in detail. Every trade alert comes with breakdowns and analysis. If you're not a part of the group and you would like to be, if I take trades on gold, if I take US dollar trades, if I trade indices, all of it gets shared with our members. And if you haven't already taken advantage of the 45% off discount that we're doing, which by the way is the biggest discounted price that we do all year long on VIP memberships, do not miss your chance. Send us a direct message and come join the action. Come trade with us. I'm telling you what, it's a low price to pay for the value that you're going to get if you're serious about your trading in the coming years. I've got people in this group that have been with me for years, and I continue to chat with them, and we talk markets and we trade together. I have lifelong friends from this Discord community that I've met and chatted back and forth with for a long time. So if you're interested in joining that and being a part of a community that is genuinely what a community is supposed to be, traders sharing ideas, taking ownership, learning, improving, following along and learning from one another, consider joining our group. It is worth every penny. I'm very confident in that, especially with a 45% off discount. It's a huge discounted price. So there you go. Yeah, I am watching gold. I'm going to look for gold setups. If I can get, like I said, I'll be probably looking for some breakouts or some pullbacks. I may get down to the 4-hour chart, see if I can find an entry there. But this looks good. Dollar index to me looks on the verge of another push lower. I would not be surprised to see that take place. If it does, you've got momentum here, both short-term momentum and longer-term momentum suggesting more downside in my view. Yeah, I've been very neutral on the dollar for the last few weeks, but with the latest data points and price action now back towards those lows, path of least resistance for me is actually a break of the dollar lows. You witnessed it here first. Today, I lean bearish on dollar. So we'll see. If I can get some entries, then I will be looking for them. Specifically, I like the pound dollar long. I like the euro dollar long. Actually, I don't like the euro dollar too much. I like, what else do I like? Well, let me go look. I'll tell you what I like in just a second. If I go simple and I go currencies, major currencies. Yeah, so I prefer pound dollar. I would take pound dollar over euro dollar personally, if I can get a pullback there. Thank you for bearish dollar. Yeah, I mean, I just, with the data points that are coming out, you have to remain objective. And this is why I preach over and over on my channel. I'm a systematic trader. And what that means to me is the economic data guides my bias. I have to be adjustable to what I'm seeing. I can't ignore, look, we're having a pattern of disappointing US economic data here. Inflation's cooling. You gotta look at the stats in front of you and just say, look, the wind is shifting. Shift with the wind or you're going to have trouble sailing. And that doesn't mean that I'm guaranteed to be right. It just means that, to me, the path of least resistance for the dollar should be lower at this time. And that's how I'm going to trade it if I can find a good setup. So join us in the group if you haven't already. Come trade with us. VIP's 45% off. Like I said, send us a direct message. We'll drop that link one more time to where you can speak directly to our support team. Up next, we got Miko and Marco joining me. I'm curious to see if they share that sentiment in the dollar or if maybe they disagree. Hopefully they disagree. It's more fun when we disagree. Anyways, up next, we got Miko and Marco joining the call to take a look at some top setups today. Stay tuned.
Attention A1 Trading Show fans. If you're interested in getting free access to the Edge Finder or our premium trade alerts, listen up. For a limited time, our show's partnered broker 8cap is giving out free access to our products when you sign up for a new trading account with them. If you already have a broker, you may want to consider switching to 8cap because of their low trading costs, a wide range of trading assets, and their amazing customer support. If you'd like to get access to our software and Discord server for free, click the link being dropped in the chat right now and ask one of our team members for more information. Don't miss your chance for free products and an award-winning broker. Now, back to the A1 Trading Show.
All right, guys, welcome back to another Thursday session. We're here with Miko and Marco. We do this every week. We talk setups, take a look at some charts together, and see what we are interested in. How are you guys doing?
What's up?
Hello.
Good to have you guys back. We do this, like I said, it's a weekly session I always look forward to just to see what you guys think about certain markets, share some ideas with the audience, and a good way to kind of introduce the audience as well to some more genuine traders in the space. So with that said, we typically start out by just doing a quick chart of the day. Each of us sharing something that we think is most urgent or most interesting, whether it be a trade that you're in or one that you think you might be in soon. Marco, why don't you kick us off? What are you watching today?
So for me, a top pick would be the pound dollar, where I did take a buy setup this morning, yesterday evening, with like 110 pip stop loss. So with a pretty big stop. But my thinking is, should be another zero there. But my thinking is the pound is very strong on the Edge Finder. It's getting some very good fundamental data, and the dollar is getting some bad fundamental data. The ADP came in pretty bearish, and I'm also counting on NFP and unemployment being bearish for the dollar as well. So, I mean, the current numbers are just very bullish for the pound and bearish for the dollar, and I'm betting on that bearishness on the dollar to actually continue. Another reason for the pound trade is that we have broken out of this, let's say, resistance that we had. So we broke this high, and this one broke out, retested it, and then continued. So I think that's a bullish technical setup. And yeah, pretty much just trailing the position now. Hopefully, if it does continue to the upside, I'll just trail my stop loss. And once the market does decide to reverse, I will be out of the trade. So that's it.
I love it. Yeah, pound dollar looks amazing. We've all three of us have talked kind of about generally seeing upside for that currency pair in the last few weeks. It's been nice to watch it keep going, although I wish I was in it. I'm not in that trade. I have other ones that are doing okay, but yeah, pound dollar continues to push higher. Miko, same question to you. What do you think about either dollar pairs or yen pairs, whatever you're watching most right now? What's your chart of the day?
Yeah, so at the moment, currently long on Aussie CHF. I was actually long on New Zealand CHF last week, but I got trailed out of that position. But fortunately, being able to get into Aussie, and a similar idea to the reasons why I got into the New Zealand CHF last week. Markets coming back from all-time lows, expecting some type of pullback based on that. And typically price does tend to do that every time we do see all-time lows for Aussie Swiss, New Zealand CHF. We tend to see really big recoveries. So the plan is, can I take advantage of that? We've had a lovely pullback, really corrective price action, which tends to mean prices like to break high. I'm kind of anticipating a bit of a low forming here and then taking advantage of that move. I'm pretty bearish on CHF as well. And Aussie CHF kind of look like the better one for me. So I've hopped into a trade here. I think this has some room to run. Hopefully we can push on. And if we can clear some resistance, there might be some opportunities for additional entries as well. So I think this has a lot of room to run. So we'll see.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think one chart of the day for me, just to add to the mix, because we talk about it frequently and we got to give it its flowers, is silver. Did you guys see the move in silver here? It's been pretty incredible. We've got this breaking out. Miko, you've talked about this level quite a bit on the stream. We're sitting here or putting in a fresh high. I'm curious to see if we get any sort of retests on this one. yeah, I mean, this has got to be, in terms of a chart of the day, probably the most interesting one I've seen. And I know a lot of the audience who's watching right now is big into trading things like gold and stuff. But we've talked about on this show, especially if you're a weekly viewer and you've seen our segments before talking about this, we take this as a positive indicator for metals in general. When you have silver kind of taking leadership, that tells you that it's kind of like when small, more speculative stocks are ripping hot in the stock market. That's actually a good indicator that the rest of the stock market is likely going to do well too. Because if the high risk, high speculation stuff is doing well, just shows you that investors, traders, whatever, are interested in that area of the market. Well, silver taking off like this could signal some upside for gold as well. And like I said, my favorite scenario with metals is when silver is actually leading and outperforming gold. To me, it's an extra confluence factor that, okay, you've got some nice strength from the little brother, if you will, to gold. I think I want to come back to this because this is a chart you've talked a lot about with silver. Is this one that you're watching for setups on at all?
Yep. I'm definitely watching silver. I was actually watching it earlier this week because we had that initial breakout. Actually, when was that? That was on Monday. So I was looking for the retest of this area because I wasn't too keen about silver in this range. I wasn't really trying to look for anything, to be honest. But once we did get that breakout at the start of the week, I was hoping for the retest there. And of course, this has happened now. So my plans have slightly changed to more focus on this high, which basically lines up with the level you just mentioned, which is around 35, just below it. So yeah, a retest there looks good. I think there's a lot of room to the upside. I'm kind of looking at this kind of whole range for silver, and I'm potentially kind of looking at that kind of height, if you will, and possibly seeing a breakout of a similar size to the upside. And the next big psychological level for silver will probably be 40. We've cleared 30. That's in the rear view mirror. Now 40, I think, could be a logical target. Of course, it's more of a bigger swing trade, but the idea is that there's a lot of room to the upside. So yeah, silver now clearing resistance there. As long as we can stay above, I think opportunities for a big pullback and a retest of 34.8 roughly. I think that's a decent opportunity.
Yeah, it's an interesting. I mean, it's a real clean breakout in terms of at least how it's starting today. I'm very curious to see how that ends up closing today. Also, everybody, we do have a bit of breaking news. The Chinese state media put out that Trump and President Xi had a call this morning, which is a huge deal considering, typically the way these things work in terms of negotiations is that the people of both sides like hash it out, like the teams on both sides hash it out, and typically the leaders speak at the end, right? The two leaders actually speak at the end after, the teams on both sides have really hashed out the details. So stocks are moving higher. Gold moved lower on that, just because, of course, that is a positive development in terms of trade negotiations. If they're talking at all, like I said, the market knows that if they're speaking, there's been people who kind of guided that ship in before they've spoken, right? They've made some progress. So that's what the market's probably picking up on this morning. Stocks popping back, kind of obviously moved lower on this more weak unemployment claims data, but now bouncing back on what is largely, I imagine, a positive development between the US and China. So just wanted to give that update to viewers who are like, what just happened with the markets? That is likely what caused that. Marco, speaking of big pops in risk assets, I know in recent weeks you've talked about watching the NASDAQ, watching Bitcoin, some of the risk assets out there. Are you still watching any of those?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm still trying to catch the NASDAQ. I'm still trying to catch Bitcoin and the DAX. I'm gonna take a look at the NASDAQ. So I was looking at this level of support right here, but I'll possibly need to move this up a little bit because we have now moved up with the 20 EMA, and I would say this is the new support level where I would look for a pullback. I think we're gonna hit all-time highs before we do get that pullback, which is not an issue. We can get a pullback a bit later, but this market is just so strong that I just don't I didn't see a good, let's say, entry level, a good risk to reward level. On Bitcoin, we are pulling back more. So I was looking, or I'm still looking at this level of support with the wicks. If we can touch this, so if we can retrace a little bit, reject, and then get a buy setup, I would be pretty happy to get in on a trade right here. So still have the same opinion. I'm still risk on and still looking for buy setups on the risk assets. And also for silver, I'm actually looking to get in on a little, let's say, feeler trade if I do get an entry on the 1 hour chart, if I get some sort of a flag setup, because I do very much like this silver breakout. Even though the fundamentals are not fully bullish, I do think this is a catch-up trade to gold, and this can go up a lot. So I wanted to ask you guys, when the market is impulsive as it is here, do you ever take like a small position somewhere on the high of this move, like a really small position in order to be in? Or do you exclusively wait for, let's say, a retest of the support level?
So just to add on to your question, Marco, because I was just about to ask you guys something similar too. To add on to these big spikes, right? I was going to ask because someone in the audience says this. They said, forget fundamental analysis, forget technical analysis, focus on tweets and posts. That's how we roll right now. And I'm not going to lie, I strongly disagree with that. But here's why, to answer your question. And I want to see what Miko says too, because when we get a big spike like this, right? When you get a big move on the 1 minute chart, big news event, by the time that data has hit the markets, algorithms are trading ahead of you. Trying to trade that spike to me is really, really challenging. I don't find that to be a very reliable way to enter the market. And also, as far as like sudden spiky news like that, I don't factor it into my reasoning between like taking trades at all. Like for me, you guys know well, I have a system. I focus on the Edge Finder, what the output here is looking like. At no point is my system like scanning Twitter for tweets from Trump. It's just, for me, that doesn't play into, I can't predict that. And I don't know what the ramifications are. Like I would have to sit down and really study what that tweet entails and what that could do to the economy. But I'd rather just look at the data that comes in afterwards. Or I imagine, I'm guessing for Miko here, his response might be, I just wait for the technicals to actually, present a setup and wait patiently for the right move. For me, I feel that when it comes to like those big spiky, oh my gosh, Trump and she, I've done that in the past. Like I've been down that road before where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm chasing news headlines. And what I found is I'm always on the tail end. I'm always the last one to place the trade. I'm not leading anything when I'm chasing headlines. So when you're chasing headlines, to me, I kind of rule it out. I say sometimes headlines are going to help me, sometimes they're not going to help me. And I just kind of write it off as like if a trade gets messed up because Trump says something, I scratch it. And sometimes I get helped by Trump saying something, right? So it just kind of evens out. In my view, that's how I approach it. Miko, what do you think on that? And then Marco, you got to share your thoughts too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree because the value in the opportunity has already been gone. The market's already spiked. There is no value anymore. Of course, price could still potentially keep going, but the big bulk of the move has potentially already happened. And of course, as a technical trader, I'm always going to be focused on the setup itself. And typically, if you're going to try and get involved when the market's already moving, you have to look and really analyze what's the reason of you getting involved. Because of course, some people do focus on breakout opportunities, and of course, that's a whole different situation. But most of the time, people get involved just because of the fear of missing out on the situation, rather than actually, okay, this is a logical bet. Let me take a stab at it. So, with myself, I'm always looking for break and retest. That's always been my code since I've started, really. So that's really what I want to focus on. And yeah, when things are moving, that's great. But I'm always looking for the pullbacks before I get involved.
Yeah, Marco, what do you think?
Yeah, I would make a difference between the move that we're seeing on the Nasdaq right now, which is clearly like a news move, which you mentioned on the 1 minute. What I was actually referring to was silver is having this breakout on the daily chart, and this is like a huge daily candle. So sometimes these trends can really go on without you. And getting in on a feeler trade is something that some traders do. So I was more referring to that being the question.
Gotcha.
And in case of that, I'm kind of considering maybe entering a small position on silver at this level, but I would definitely prefer getting in at this level once we retest the support with the bulk of my position. So that's my opinion for this one. And for catching those news trades, it's definitely not for me. I don't think there's a big edge in that for me personally, but I do know prop firms like SMB Capital, real prop firms. They do actually monitor Trump's Twitter feed or his Truth Social, and they do execute trades according to his Truth Social, but it's like extremely fast execution. It's the 1 minute chart, and they are on top of their game. They are the best at what they do, and you cannot just dabble into scalping a Trump's Truth Social. So yeah,
I love that YouTube channel, Marco. It's part of the reason why years ago I got into options was just binge watching SMB Capital and Tasty Live and all these options trading world content. Just got me so into that stuff. But anyways, yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. And for the scalpers out there who are specialists at that, just like everything else, I'm a believer that there's many ways to do well in the markets. Just for me personally, I'll give you some example, or just a quick example. Like, I was on the right side with a lot of stocks that I ended up buying. I'm not going to call it lucky, because I was a calculated buy for a lot of the stocks that I bought, but you can't help but feel a little bit lucky when shortly after there's a big tweet that makes the market rally 10% in a day. Like, that's insane. Unexpected returns. But there's also times where I've been on the complete wrong side of that. I think you guys might remember when I had that big slippage event with the NASDAQ back in August of last year. It was very frustrating. I gave back a lot of gains of my year on a really bad slippage move over the weekend, and it sucked. So it's like, news sometimes has been a massive helper to me and been a massive hurt to my performance. But I kind of look at it as like, over the long term, that stuff evens out. And if I can generally get it right in terms of market direction, entries, and somebody else said in the chat that I actually agreed with this too. Said, I agree about the tweet volatility. Sometimes people take trade. Sometimes news basically takes people out of trades. Personally, I've expanded my stops in these higher VIX markets. That's a good way to think about it too. It's like, if you have markets that are moving a lot more, maybe reduce that size and consider widening your stop a little bit. That's another option that traders have to experiment with and to think about in their trading. Yeah, good stuff. Good conversation on that front, because I think a lot of people wonder about that. Miko, silver's rocketing. Does this make you think differently about gold, or what are your thoughts on gold right now?
So with gold, I mean, in terms of just looking at the price action, I think silver is just a lot easier just to kind of understand and look for setups. So I'm still pretty bullish on gold. The way I've been looking at gold is just kind of seeing what price is done within this channel. And since we did break out the start of the week, that's maybe pretty bullish as well. But in terms of momentum, that's kind of where things are stumbling over, and it looks like price is fading at the highs at the moment. But I still think gold has a good chance of getting it back to the highs as well. It's just we're a little bit more corrective, and comparing it to silver, I'd rather put my eggs in that basket. But in terms of the price action as well, I'm seeing an uptrend here with higher highs and higher lows. So until that changes, so something like this happens and we start to break support again, then I would become bearish or potentially neutral. But for now, I would still say I'm bullish on gold, and something like that could be a nice opportunity. But yeah, I think there's a good chance we do kind of just make our way back to the highs at 3,500. Yep.
No, I agree. I think gold looks strong now with this recent economic data that we were talking about just before you guys joined. And Marco, I do want to just, somebody pointed out that I still didn't answer your question, so I apologize. When in terms of when a price action move happens like that. So I personally wait for retests on all my trades. But I understand what you're saying, because there are oftentimes, and here's the worst part about it, right? The ones that don't pull back are oftentimes the best moves. Like, that's the one that really stings, is like the ones that, like, let's just say hypothetically, if I can show my screen here for a second, let's just say that the dollar index dramatically drops from here. And we get this, let's say NFP is really poor tomorrow and we get this candle, right? If I take that trade and I say, or I look at that move and I say, okay, I'm in if we get a retest. I may get that trade, and sometimes I do. And I think, Miko and I, we both are pretty adamant about waiting for that retest in our own approaches. But, I've interviewed and seen the broker statements of someone like Tori Trades, who I think is very famous for not having that kind of, actually, I don't know if she implements retest, but I know a lot of times she just takes a trade straight away on the break of a significant level that she's watching. And so there's many traders who are breakout traders through and through who would just get short on the break and closure of like a 1 hour chart or something of a low. And they're just in and they say, this thing either keeps going. We just hit a major breakout. And on a technical analysis standpoint, it does make sense. If a really big level just broke, it would make sense that if sellers are really strong, we would get the follow through right away. Like there would be very little retest. However, Miko, I want to get your thoughts on this too, because I think a lot of times people would say, well, a lot of times there's a lot of stops here that get tagged, which is buying. And there's a natural kind of retest of this area, and then it keeps going. So Miko, same question to you. Do you prefer, obviously you prefer the break and retest, but why choose the break and retest over just the breakout?
Well, it's kind of like, they're both like two sides on the same coin, but the way I see it, especially for the current trade I'm in with Aussie Swiss, that recently cleared all-time lows. So of course there's a lot of selling pressure, which of course made the market fall, but naturally at the all-time lows, a lot of people will be taking off their positions closing trades. So the amount of sellers at those prices will of course decrease, and naturally buyers will come into the market. So especially with FX as well, not so much with other markets and more trending markets, but with FX, typically when a big level does break, a lot of people are either potentially getting stopped out or closing some of their positions, and that could cause price to retrace. So my kind of take, especially in the FX world, is that more often than not, when price does break a big level, it does pull back to retest it, or potentially even pulls back greater than that as well. Of course, there'll be times where you do get breakouts, but like I said, you kind of have to pick your poison. Are you going to try and play the breakout side of things, or you can try the retest side of things? And in the FX world, I think the retest is probably the more safer and kind of cleaner journey to take. I think breakouts are a bit more difficult in FX markets because they chop around a lot more. But that's kind of my reasoning.
Yeah, it is a pick your poison type of thing, because at the end of the day, everything has pros, everything has cons, right? There's with the breakout, if markets are highly volatile, what I've found too, is that when you have like higher volatility markets, which we've had cooling off fix recently, but like when you have these high volatile markets, breakouts oftentimes work beautifully. Like if you're talking about a market where it's just like everything is freaking out and it's like very clear that we are super bullish or super bearish on a particular currency pair or commodity or index or whatever, follow through is more persistent. Actually, I'll tell you guys this, that a lot of times the drawdowns that I've experienced in my my currency trading, because you guys know I use a little bit more of a dollar cost averaging approach, the bigger drawdowns are when I'm on the wrong side of a market during a higher volatility spike, where the market kind of expands in one direction very far, where we were moving maybe 300 pips in a month on a currency pair. Maybe we start moving 600 pips, and we're making way bigger moves. And I'm on the wrong side of those. So those are periods of time where I actually tend to struggle. Meanwhile, in like lower drawdown moves, or lower volatility areas, currency pairs can maybe still trend, but the trends are just not as violent. And those violent trends can be great if you're on the right side of them, and obviously challenging if you're on the wrong side. So just something else to add to the thought process there.
Yeah, I like the
go ahead.
The break and retest, because you get a better risk to reward. You're getting in at a better level. You can have a tighter stop loss as well, and it feels better. You feel like you got in at a better price. That's a psychological benefit, I would say, to a break and retest, and it kind of makes you be more patient as well. So I think, in my personal opinion, break and retest is the better option for me and for you guys, as far as I can see as well.
Yeah, that's a good point about the risk to reward concept. It helps to map out, just a little bit more of like where am I going to be wrong? It's closer, right? Obviously to stop loss placement than if I am buying a breakout and like the stop loss has to go, much further away if I'm looking at like major levels. So yeah, that's a good point. It's a good way of thinking about it too, is the risk to reward side. What do you guys think about yen pairs? Miko, do you have any yen pairs that you're watching right now?
I'm kind of a little bit on the fence with some of the yen pairs, to be honest. Some yen pairs I'm quite bullish on. I didn't manage to get, well, I actually did get an entry on Aussie yen, but because I was trading Aussie CHF, I didn't decide to take it because I was kind of doubling my risk on Aussie at that point. So I did let this one go, but Aussie yen I'm quite bullish on. I think there is room to the upside. I'm looking at the daily chart here, and possibly looks like the market's kind of forming a bit of a bottom and some type of inverse head and shoulder here, left head and right shoulder. So I think
screen is blank.
Oh, is it? You can't see a screen, Marco?
I can only see the Jeep.
Oh, weird. Hold on. Can you see it now?
It's loading. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, with Aussie yen, I'm pretty bullish on. I think there's room to the upside, but I'm looking at pairs like Euro yen, and I'm not so bullish on that one. I mean, the market is pushing up, but the terms of the price action, which again is my main focus, isn't looking as brilliant. So I'm not really looking to buy this. So I would say I'm more kind of leaning towards a weak yen, but more so for like Aussie yen and maybe New Zealand yen. Euro and pound, not so much. Yeah.
It's interesting just to hear in terms of the yen pairs. They've been really volatile here recently, but really volatile as in back and forth. Like they look bullish for a second, then they go back bearish. So I have a current long position on both the NZD JPY currency pair as well as the USD JPY pair. This one is in more drawdown. I entered somewhere around this area here. I'm just sitting in a trade that's gone sideways, and then I'm slightly positive on my NZD JPY trade. But for me, on the fundamental side, I won't go deep dive into it, but Japanese yen looks a little bit stronger than I thought it was in terms of economic data. So I'm actually looking to get out of some of the yen crosses and just kind of back to neutral on this one. However, some of the dollar weakness here may actually make the dollar yen look a little bit wobbly here to the downside. So I'm actually looking to get out of that trade that I'm in currently. So we'll see. But same question to you, Marco. What do you think? Yen pairs, any interest here?
Yeah, I'm still trailing my position on NJ.
Oh, nice.
It's been quite a roller coaster. I used a 90 pip stop loss, so a pretty big one to fit the daily chart. But anyways, it's been very choppy. Lots of moves up and then a drop. Move up, drop. V reversal here and then another V reversal. I think the main area I would look at for NJ would be this level of resistance. I would probably take half of my position off at this level, maybe keep the rest with a trailing stop loss. But yeah, because of the fundamentals, I like the New Zealand and I don't like the yen. I'm risk on, so just trailing this position. In terms of other JPY pairs, I'm not really considering more buy setups, let's say on AJ or EJ. So the plan is I'm just going to keep this position. I'm going to keep trailing it. And the main focus, to be honest, is the indices and Bitcoin. Currencies, I'm doing with a bit of a lower risk and kind of doing them on the side. I do really want to get into the indices right now.
Yeah. I alternate. Someone asked me yesterday in our Discord chat. They said, Nick, how much do you allocate towards FX versus indices and commodities? And I said, it's kind of a moving target for me. Like it depends. Like I will deposit more money into FX if I like the market environment more for FX. And then I'll deposit more money into indices, commodities, and other things. Like I have a couple different brokerage accounts, and I just kind of choose which way I allocate new deposits. I'm a big fan of long-term, just continuously finding other income sources to funnel into your trading and investing so that, you can make more money from less percentage returns. I think that's the ultimate kind of goal with trading is not to necessarily have 15% months every month per se, but to get to a point where a 2% month makes you an incredible amount of money and you do great with it. And then so I'm a big fan of that, but then allocation is also a conversation. Like it's something you have to think about. Like, am I going to allocate more money to FX right now? Am I going to allocate it more to crypto? Am I going to allocate it to stocks? All sorts of different decisions. We had that conversation last week, I think, just talking about like where we allocate. And so sometimes like people are big into, like I've seen some people who think a great idea is to trade and then take profits and move them into a long-term kind of passive investment portfolio, using it as a vehicle to build up investing capital. I've also seen people like yourself, Miko, you mentioned last week, you're like, I pretty much funnel most of my capital into trading. Same here for the most part. Now I do have some longer term trading strategies that some would say are more investing. I would say that they're, the wheel strategy, I would say, is still somewhat trading, which is a long-term options type of trading strategy that I use. So by that definition, a lot of my capital goes towards trading and very little to passive investing. But, to the each their own. What do we have? We're supposed to have another guest joining us here, but we've run out of time in terms of you guys coming on and hanging out with us. We, as always, appreciate your commentary, your wisdom on the subjects that we talked about and ideas here today. So for everybody who's watching, if you are not already subscribed to these two gentlemen, I highly recommend it. Take a second out of your day. Make sure that if you're watching on YouTube or Twitter, on Instagram, wherever, make sure to go find these guys. You can find them at Marco's Trading Journey or at Miko Audu. Both of them can be found on YouTube. Their links are also dropped in the chat. Highly recommend it. Again, this is free value. You can go spend $1 bajillion on courses, or you can follow along with traders who are realistic, sharing trading ideas for free on social media, like myself, Miko, and Marco. Make sure to go support their content. Guys, thank you very much for coming on to the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you. See ya.
See you
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. It's a cool day and age, right? We have all these different wonderful traders who come on and share their ideas, and it's to the audience, it's completely for free. We live in a really cool world. I mean, obviously, like this is what I do in terms of like my day job is I share content and YouTube and all that stuff for traders. But I'm learning some amazing things that have nothing to do with trading, like on my off hours. It's a cool world we live in where, knowledge is more free and accessible than it ever has been in human history. And I think that is so cool. Like I bought a home last year. My wife and we bought a home, and I've just been learning how to do so many things in terms of like repairing things and fixing things and building things. And it's just so cool. YouTube is a really cool thing. By the way, if you are enjoying the content, you are not already, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to this channel that you're watching currently as well. But like I said, make sure to go support our guests. They come on each week completely. We don't pay them to come on. They just, in exchange for the exposure, they come on and share their ideas. It's a double-edged sword. There's so much bad knowledge out there. That is true. That's true. You got to be able to filter. And a big thing, I think, when it comes to the trading space is make sure that you invest your time in people who actually show you that they are profitable traders. How can you prove that? Broker statements, live logins, all that good stuff. MyFX book is another good one. I had a MyFX book account for 5 years, and it was on so I trade, you guys know, I trade indices and commodities a lot. And in the United States, we cannot trade CFDs. So XAU, USD, NAS 100, those things are CFDs. They're not really gold, and they're not really the NASDAQ. They're like derivatives of those things, kind of. So, but that's a bulk of what I trade on the actual market. So my FX book only has, it primarily interfaces with like Forex and CFD brokerages. So I had a CFD brokerage account that I tracked on my FX book for 5 years that I had like not a lot of money in. I was just using it as my performance tracker. And unfortunately, the company that I was using it on, the brokerage that I was using it on, they lost like their license to MetaTrader, so my account discontinued. Show us your broker statements. Go to my web or go to my homepage, and you can watch like a 15 to 20 minute video of me going through my trading stats, and you can pull it up. I'm a big fan of shooting for somewhere around 2 to 5% average monthly returns. Slow and steady wins the race. I've watched countless traders in my years of doing this burn out and blow up along the way. Meanwhile, the slow and steady traders that I know have consistently stacked their trading accounts over time, embracing slow and steady. It is a life hack in trading to stop trying to flip your account, stop trying to make 20% per month, and just go for slow and steady. It is the only thing that I know to do to generate consistent growth. All right, what are we looking at? Do we have another guest? I think James mentioned something to me yesterday. Our James mentioned something. Do we have let me see. Do we have another guest coming on? I think we're waiting for Forex James. Is that right, Chandler? Let me know. Send me a DM if you can, if you've heard anything. If you haven't heard anything, we'll just stick around and wait for a couple more minutes. Yeah, look at NZDJPY. This is looking good. I'm actually going to probably use this rally. If we can get up into this area, I'm going to probably look to close out of this currency pair, take a profit on it. And for dollar yen, I'd love to see if we can get a little bit of a pop on this one too. And if we get any sort of pullback, we'll take that as an opportunity to scale out, take profits on the trade. I mentioned earlier that I have flipped more decisively bearish on the US dollar. And look at this, guys. We are back down to those lows. Looks like we may be seeing a breakout. I'm bullish on gold officially as the Edge Finder flipped into that camp. Gold getting a +8 score. COT data still looks strong. So we have flipped as of today with this unemployment claims data coming in soft. I am definitely looking more bearish dollar, bullish gold. So if I take any trades, I'll share them inside of Discord. Looks like we don't have Forex James joining us today. Unfortunately, he's doing a 24-hour stream. So tune into that if you want to see some craziness. That man is crazy. 24-hour live stream trading is pretty impressive if he can do it. That's awesome. But anyways, if I take any trades on indices, commodities, gold, silver, Forex, stocks, options, all of my trades get shared inside of our VIP group. We just kicked off a 45% off discount on the VIP memberships. Do not miss the chance to come join us. I'm going to shut down the stream here, but if you have not taken advantage of this discount, click the link being dropped in the chat right now to speak directly to our support team, and they can get you hooked up with a membership. We offer lifetime memberships. They're 45% off. They are super affordable right now, and you can get access to everything that I have to share for a one-time payment. If that's something that you're interested in doing, if you want to come trade with us, I'd love to meet some of you guys. I'm watching gold. Like I said, I'm watching dollar bearish setups, and any trades that I take will get notified to you inside of the Discord. Thank you guys for watching. We're going to shut down the stream here. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day, and we'll see you back on the next one. Bye, guys.
Thanks again for watching today's show. Our goal at A1 Trading is to continue to share free value to our audience through daily videos and articles, keeping you up to date with the latest market coverage. If you enjoy our content, make sure to subscribe for more. From all of us at A1 Trading, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.